welcome back to Open. We are spreading love on this Halloween edition. Yeah, we must spread the love, spread the love. Flower power. Don't forget, we're always inviting you to get social with us. Tweet us at BronxNet TV and tweet me too while you're there at Rhina Valentin. Pero now we're gonna get a little spooky, because it doesn't matter if you're young or old, everyone knows Frankenstein. Right. Okay. So this year marks the 200th anniversary of the novel, and our next guest will be discussing the significance of the character and the thrill of horror. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome Latin horror founder Edwin Pagan. Hello and welcome. Welcome back.
Yep.
We love when you come visit us on our Halloween edition. You're always sharing this gruesome, gory stuff that I know you love, because I look forward to There Will Be Sangre.
Yeah, well, thanks for this has become kind of an annual tradition for us. So thanks for having me back. It's always great to be here with you and the BronxNet crew. Fantastic.
Well, thank you, Edwin, and thank you for the topics that you picked. So, Frankenstein is a very fascinating topic. I know you're going to be doing a whole panel discussion on it, but we're going to share with our viewers a little bit of the history of Frankenstein, because I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that Frankenstein was written by a woman.
That's correct. Shelley Merry was born in Victorian England, 1797, and she started writing the book when she was only 18 years old. And so it took her about 2 years to write it. And, we're talking during a time in England when women weren't at the forefront of the literature movement. And so she was quite ahead of her time in that. And it got published when she was 20 years old. But it's interesting because the book got published on January 1st, 1818, and we're in the 200th anniversary now. But it originally got published without her name on it.
I was going to ask, why was it published anonymously?
Because I think during the time, women writing that sort of genre piece wasn't something that was sort of acceptable. But I think her husband was also an author, and they went back and forth, and it got published. But it got published in France 2 years later under her real name, and then originally started spreading when it started getting critical acclaim. So at the beginning, it wasn't published with her name, so it's, but she was ahead of her time by not only writing a novel, but also the subject matter, something as macabre as it was, wasn't something that was common as novels. It was serialized.
Right.
In the Penny Dreadfuls and those kind of things, but it wasn't necessarily, which came later, but it wasn't in England something that was common. So she was.
Well, yeah, she was quite the visionary. Yeah. I mean, I understand she was visited in her dreams by the story.
That's right. That's right. And the funny thing, and it has a connection to modern times. And when we talk about the Genesis, which is Prometheus, right, the Titan that sort of made man out of clay and stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, and that's how we sort of have flourished over the years. Now I was reading a story just the other day about stem cell research and how they're using that now to sort of go further, and people were against it, right? But there's people that are starting to be cured by that there's a direct correlation from sort of reanimating life to now modern times in science, where we're sort of going full circle and bringing it back to the fact that we can, through science, do the things that were kind of discussed in those books. And so what happened in her book and then went into cinematic folklore and movies and popular culture is actually going to be reality in the not too distant future.
Well, what is that? The Walking Dead, right?
The Walking Dead.
Right. So, but let's talk about Frankenstein and just how it evolved, because originally it was a book that she wrote,
right?
And the book that she wrote was, I guess, also inspired by Prometheus, right?
Right. In fact, it was in certain publications it was called the modern Prometheus.
And so, from there, now Frankenstein became its own entity.
Right.
As in its own brand.
Right.
Versus it being a story.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, what ended up happening was, as anything else, it started being copied in the Penny Dreadfuls in various ways, not necessarily always under the banner of Frankenstein, but like you said, like the whole thing of like the reanimated person with zombies and things of that nature. But when it came into when film came into existence, then people started doing the story on celluloid. And the interesting thing, and one of the things that's good about our topic today is that, and I think this happens almost, there's always a Bronx connection. And so the Thomas Edison company, which it had one in Orange County, but it also had one here in the Bronx, which opened, I think, in 1907 or 1901, was not too far. It was on Oliver Place, which is not too very far from here. And the first Frankenstein adaptation on film was actually shot in the Bronx at the Thomas Edison Company. And so what we've had after that...
That's fascinating. I don't know if too many people know that.
Yeah, and here in the Bronx. And at one time before Hollywood, most of the film companies were in the Bronx. The studios, and in New York before they went.
Well, it looks like that's going to happen again, right? Because we got
little by little.
Yeah.
And so, there have been many, many films that have been done about Frankenstein over the years. Golem is one of them in like 1928. They keep replicating the movie. We know them. Some of the more quirkier ones, like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which is one of my favorites. But the original,
that's the comical version.
That's the comical version. Mel Brooks version. It just goes on and on. But the classic, the one that we all remember with Boris Karloff in 1931, is the one that sort of brought it into popular culture and everybody's, because it was a mainstream Hollywood film. And it's what we associate as the monster no matter what. The sort of take on it has always been sort of this creature being put together with the top, it looks like you can pop it off and the bolts in the neck. And that's sort of what seeped in even in Hollywood. In Halloween, that's what you kind of get the gist of. On and on.
Right, of course. And so now you guys at the Bronx Music Heritage Center are going to be conducting this panel.
Yep.
But you're also going to redesign or recreate something related to Frankenstein. Like, you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we're doing it at the Bronx Music Heritage Center, and the two co-directors there is Elena Martinez and Bobby Sanabria, who is like an amazing jazz musician, drummer, band leader, who's currently out.
He's up for a Grammy with
correct.
The West Side Story Reimagined.
That's right,
and congratulate him.
And very well deserved, because he's just amazing. He's one of our heroes from our community,
yes.
And he's a Bronx boy, born and bred. And what he's going to do, and they've been doing this for a couple of years at the Bronx Music, they pick a film and they reenact the music live with one of his bands. And so what Bobby is this year is going to do again, they selected Frankenstein, and they're going to be playing the underscore to the film live for the audience that participates. So it's kind of nice, it's...
So is the movie going to be in silence, or is...
The movie is going to be in silence. And I think we're taking away the track, and there'll be some dialogue. For the most part, it sort of goes back to those black and white films of the silent period. So it'll be
so
dramatic.
The composition is going to be a la Bobby Sanabria style.
And I'm sure he'll even throw a little jazz crescendo in there every now and then. But it becomes a really fun night, because you get to really like interact with it, and the little surprises that he throws in that you don't expect, are always, like Bobby does. He just adds flourishes that are just uniquely him.
Yeah, and Edwin, this is your time of the year, though, right? Because you also have an event happening at Pope Park.
That's right.
That's
this very
Talisman,
evening.
Your film.
Yeah. We're doing a series of Halloween films, 3 of them, this very evening at 6 p.m. at the Poe Visitor Center. And one of the films that's showcasing is mine, The Talisman, which is about a guy who gets contracted by this evil force to deliver a talisman. And, I won't give away the ending, but all 3 films in the series are about karma and getting your just deserved at the end. And so the other film that's playing is...
I'm laughing because I know you as a community activist.
Yeah.
That's like an underline.
That's
like,
right.
Toma.
Toma. And then another friend of mine whose film is showing is Carl Polino, who people may know, who did the animation for MTV with the claymation Celebrity Deathmatch. And you can find those on MTV. So he has filmed the Halloween Prankster, which is a stop-motion animated film. And then finally, Christian Moran, who did Let's Play Dead Girl, which is based on the Slender Man. And we know that about 6-7 years ago, when that whole mythology hit the internet and really flourished, there was a group of friends who actually murdered one of their friends in homage to this mythical creature, which was really nothing more than something that had gone viral. So his film is based on that.
Awesome. I love
So
it.
it's a mix of family and it's a little
yeah.
more serious.
It's a little more serious, though.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
necessarily
Right.
recommended as a family event.
right.
They have to be old enough to
Right,
deal with it.
right.
And I just want to thank you, Edwin, for always coming through, sharing your knowledge. I mean, you're quite the historian. I don't even know how you memorize all these dates, but we appreciate you.
It's always great to be here.
Oh, we love Latin horror, and see it, pa'lante, oíste.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll let everybody else know where they can find you, as well as all these events we just finished discussing. Once again, the New York City Parks Halloween Films, that's taking place tonight, Friday, October 26th, from 6 to 8 p.m., and that's at Poe Park Visitor Center at 2640 Grand Concourse. And for information, you can visit nycgovparks.org. Also, the Bronx Rising, the Bicentennial of Frankenstein panel will take place Saturday, October 27th, and that's tomorrow from 7 to 9 p.m. And of course, we already told you there's going to be music by Bobby Sanabria, and that's going to be happening at the Bronx Music Heritage Center located at 1309 Louis 9 Boulevard. And for more information on that, you can visit thisbronxmusic.org. And of course, for all things horror, be sure to visit latinhorror.com, because there will be sangre. All right, stay tuned. Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.